All right, it's yet another good day because John Mattox is here, the brilliant author of these books and our guru for the day. What have you got for us today, John?
Hey, Doug, thanks for having me. Today, we're going to give you a little insight about the learning report. This is some research I've been working on recently, and it's about the organizational design principles that go into L&D that help make L&D functions successful or not so successful in organizations. So what we're going to share today is...
And this is 2020, hot off the presses, work in progress. Next slide.
All right, so one of the measures we said is there a skills surplus within L&D? And yes, there is. So when it comes to having too many resources or skills, most organizations that responded here are saying delivery expertise and content development and program design and live in-person instructors. Now, especially that last one in this COVID era, it makes sense that you have that surplus. So that's where L&D groups are overstocked.
In other words, that's waste, right? We've got too much of this and we need to be smarter about it.
Yeah, so you're probably paying too much for these skills and resources right now.
Okay, next.
So the next side is we flip the question, say, well, what skills are you missing? And what we see up on top, and I promise I didn't plant this information, measurement expertise. Most L&D groups are missing that knowledge and skill set.
So they need John Mattox.
Thanks, Doug. Yeah, so measurement expertise, also business acumen, content curation, and needs assessment. Needs assessment was a little bit surprising to me, but if you see as needs assessment as being, the analytics side of gathering data, that is somewhat related to measurement expertise. So I can see that being high on this list.
We had a conversation yesterday with a national leader about this topic, so it makes perfect sense to me. They don't know how to measure and they don't know what to do next. Speaking of next.
So we combine these two metrics. If you look right down here at the bottom, the skills need is what we're driving at as a metric here. And it's just essentially assessing the skill gap. So we take the missing skill percentage from the last slide minus the surplus skill from 2 slides back, and we get what's seen here on screen. And it's just to emphasize what's the actual gap between surplus and what's missing. So what we get on top, again, measurement expertise, needs assessment, business acumen. So
easy math, huh? There's the formula. Here's the opportunity.
Relatively easy math. So clearly L&D is missing measurement expertise. Now here's what becomes surprising to me. Let's take one more slide and we'll finish this up. So when we ask these organizations, how do you analyze evaluation results? The 3 things that came up very frequently were, well, we have an internal measurement team. Sure, it makes sense, especially for some of these larger organizations. They need that team. Secondly, about half of them relied on their learning management system or a similar system to do the evaluation work for them. And then the third highest at about 42%, vendors actually provide the analysis and evaluation results for them, but it's a software-based tool. And the ones that typically come to mind, and I know are in this data set, are Metrics That Matter, Performative, Qualtrics, systems like those.
And that makes
surprising here as well to me.
That makes sense to me because a manager would say, we need to bring in these assessments in-house. So we're going to look at measurement teams. We're going to look at an LMS. And we're going to use whatever available software we can to develop a process. So what's the problem?
So what's the problem is down here, the last 2. There's 4% of the respondents to the survey that said, we just don't do evaluation.
Wow.
That's, to me, blasphemous because we have to measure, monitor, manage, right? But then worse here at the end is, analysis is outsourced to a consultancy. There's a big donut, a 0, nothing.
Yikes. Well,
I'm really surprised, really surprised.
So this is great opportunity for you or us, but also great awareness for L&D professionals who aren't always focused on. Okay.
So if there's this huge gap in measurement expertise, the simplest, probably most cost-effective way is to grab someone who's an expert in that area, like you or me or other consultants in this area and say, tell us what you know. Help us fill this gap. Help us at least for a short time, fill that issue that we have. Help us solve the problem.
So I see 2 levels of responses to anybody viewing this little video. One could be an individual case study. For instance, the one you and I did recently for a Fortune 500 company. And we looked at what was the value of a 4-hour training program, and you would think not so much. And in fact, it was over $3 million in less than 6 months. And I think those business impact case studies are one way in which assessments would be useful. Another way would be at a more systemic level to look at the value of LMSs or content that's being used or not used and what those gaps are. And then your recommendations would be what to keep and what to drop. So we've got smaller business impact case studies to provide, and then longer, more enterprise solutions, all under
Both of those are
John's hat.
both of those are great options. And the importance here is that whatever your measurement problem is, we'd love to talk with you about it. So just call, email us, find a way to connect with us, and we will help you solve that problem.